Hey, everybody. Welcome to what I believe is going to go live on December 23rd. It's the Christmas episode. Christmas is here. Can you believe it? And I want to put something on the table that we don't talk about enough. This is hard, like really hard. Being a business owner is tough. And we don't talk about that enough. Now, Christmas is coming and it's all happiness and cheer and there's great music. I love Christmas, by the way. You guys already know. If you've listened to the show for any amount of time, you know I love Christmas. But I also love you guys. And I want to remind you that I get it. And sometimes when I go back and occasionally listen to my own episodes, I can hear myself. I'm like, oh, do this. It's easy. Just get that end of job report going. But it can be hard. You know, I'm having a very difficult and respectful conversation with a company right now that's about to put their end of job reports into reality in their company. But believe it or not, the holdback is that one of the partners feels that it's a personal attack. Mistakes they made in the job are reflecting in the end of job. And that's not where I'm coming from. It's just the fact. This is what we bid the job for. This is what we built the job for. We made or lost money. You know, it's simple. But it's not that simple. And so I was thinking back on that. Believe it or not, guys, I come across as happy-go-lucky and always positive, but I'm as serious as shit. And I take what I do very, very seriously. I believe that I'm here to serve. I believe that I'm here to help. And I love what I do. You know, I've been doing it for 21 years, I guess. 22 when it beginning of the new year. It'll be 22 years. I can't even remember what songs were popular 22 years ago. But I'll tell you what, this is what I reflected on, is that being a business owner is hard. I don't talk about my failures very much. I've had some doozies. I've had some fantastic successes. You guys know I built one of my companies up to $120 million in sales before I sold it. Another company I built up to 237 employees before I sold it. And I've had this question from a few of you. I can't say the number because when I sold it, I was not allowed in the contract of sale to talk about the revenue level of that company. But we had 237 employees in countries all around the world, including Brazil. And I don't speak Portuguese. Not very well anyways. But let's admit that running a cabinet shop is tough. Let's also tip our hat and give a nod to the fact that you probably started this alone in your parents' garage. The first kitchen you made was for your aunt, or maybe you did some reno work for a school or somebody's restaurant. And look what you've built. And so, yeah, it's hard, but that's what we signed up for. The reason that you're doing this, the reason that you're leading that company is because you're the right person to lead the company, man or woman. You're it. At the end of today's episode, I'm going to have a challenge for you, a very simple two-part question. And that two-part question is something I'd like you to think about in your quiet times over Christmas. You're not going to have a lot of quiet time, I hope. I hope you're going to have a lot of people around you. I hope you're going to have all the love of your family. I hope you're going to eat too much. I hope you're going to stay up too late, having fun with the people you love. But I want to have this question ringing in your mind. But first, let's accept the fact that this is hard. And you know what? It's supposed to be hard. I'd like you to think about this. I'd like you to think about a caterpillar. A caterpillar has to go through a pretty amazing transformation to become a butterfly. It has to spin its own cocoon and then go to sleep inside it. And when it wakes up, it's a butterfly, but it's stuck inside this cocoon. And then it has to struggle and fight and tear and claw at something it built itself to fight its way out. Can you imagine the terror you would have if you were wrapped up tight in your bed sheets and you couldn't get out, including covering your head, swaddling your feet? You couldn't move your arms. That must be what a caterpillar is going through. You know, there's a story, and you've heard me say this before on the show, of a young man who's doing his homework by the windowsill, and the window's open and he sees a plant outside, and hanging off the plant is a cocoon. Inside, he can see the butterfly struggling. It's ready to come out, but it's struggling. And he thinks, I'm just going to let it do its thing. Goes back to studying, but it sticks in his head. And so he goes, you know what? I'm just going to help it a little bit. And he goes and he tears open the side just a tiny little bit so that the beautiful butterfly that he knows is inside can come out. And then he goes back to studying. But a few minutes later, he looks over and the butterfly trapped inside the cocoon, swaddled tightly, is still struggling to get out. And he thinks, you know what? today's the day I'm going to lend a hand. And so he opens up the cocoon and he lets the butterfly come out. So the butterfly falls down and falls on the windowsill and everything looks great. And so the young gentleman goes back to studying, but he keeps an eye on this butterfly on the windowsill, and it's misshapen. Its body is bloated, but its wings are stunted. And he realizes that he's done the wrong thing. He didn't let the butterfly struggle to escape the cocoon. Biologically, it needs to escape the cocoon so that the fluids get pushed out of its body and into its beautiful wings. By not allowing it to struggle, he took away the potential of the butterfly. The struggle you're going through right now makes you who you are. The fact that you are struggling, and struggling might be the wrong word, questioning, stuck, feeling like you've been doing the same thing for a couple of years and haven't figured out a way to punch through. All of those things are what they are. Thankfully, you're listening to my show and perhaps some other ones out there, because you're trying to find a way. You're struggling inside your cocoon. Think about salmon. How's that for a Pacific Northwest reference? But salmon have to struggle to go upstream to have sex once in their life. Once. Yeah, it's probably worth the struggle. But then they die. How's that for a struggle? Let me go to something that might be in the background that we don't talk about here, although I do try to deal with social issues around Thanksgiving time. You guys know that from listening to the show, where I have social workers and people who deal with addictions and mental health on the show. But what if you have a learning disability? What if reading is not your strong suit? What if math isn't your strong suit? What if English, like writing, isn't your strong suit? What if being a new immigrant to the country isn't your strong suit? What if you're a new immigrant? And so what I did is I went back and I searched for a couple of people that I hope you can consider as your peers, as people who are just like you, who you can lean on and say, well, if they did it, I can do it. Here's some kids that grew up with learning disabilities. These people had dyslexia, Asperger's syndrome, ADD, attention deficit disorder. Do you have that? Have you been shy to say it out loud? Here's a couple people you didn't know had these different learning disabilities. Richard Branson has dyslexia, or is dyslexic. I apologize if I said that wrong. You know, I was reading one of his articles or one of his interviews. He said it made me better at delegating because he recognized he couldn't do everything himself. So it made him a better delegator. He owns Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Airlines, so many other things, right? Very creative guy. You're creative. If you're in this business, you're a creative person. You're creative. You're the kind of person who likes to learn by touching and feeling things, because you like to make stuff. That's a creative representation of who you are. David Neilman, you might not know who he is. He founded JetBlue Airways. He has ADD, attention deficit disorder. The guy that started BitTorrent, which is a way to share massive amounts of data on the internet. So talk about a highly technical skill set. His name is Bram Cohen. He has Asperger's. Social interactions for him are tough. Like, it's hard for him to talk to people, but logic is very easy. And so he used his perceived weakness, as a superpower. Maybe the perceived weakness that you and I, by the way, I'm not immune to this. What goes for me goes for you. Maybe the perceived weakness that you have of yourself is actually your superpower. Think about that. And then Damon John. Now, you'd recognize Damon John because he's the guy who started the FUBU brand, FUBU brand, and he's on Shark Tank. He has dyslexia. And he chose to view it as a strength, not a weakness. So that's kids with learning disabilities. And then I thought to myself, well, hang on a second. I'm one of the fortunate ones. My parents came over as immigrants, as many of our parents did, and they worked very hard, but I had a very, very loving, happy household. My dad worked, and you guys have heard this, 6 days a week. I don't think he ever saw one of my soccer games. I can't hold it against the guy. He was working. And yet, you know what? He still took me camping on the weekends. How does a guy who works 6 days a week do that? Like, I'm tired sometimes, and all I do is talk into the microphone or get on the phone with those of you that I coach or train. And so I'm I'm a privileged guy. I'm going to be the first to admit it. How about people who weren't as privileged? How about people who had a tough family life? And I'm only looking at this tough family life through one single lens, and that's successful people who were adopted. Now, we all have different family situations, and I don't know what you're dealing with, but maybe it's time to say that that made me who I am, and I'm going to build on that. But here's some famous adopted people you may not have known of. John Lennon, Marilyn Monroe, Babe Ruth, Steve Jobs, and as many of you probably know, Dave Thomas, the founder of Wendy's. He's doing all right. I want you to look around. I want you to look around your shop. Look for a landmark. Look for a landmark somewhere around you. Maybe out your window, you can see a tree, and you know that tree is on the river. You can see a mountain in the background. Maybe you can see the ocean in the background. Maybe all you can see is one of the guys or one of the people on your crew wearing an orange shirt, and he's wearing Otto the Orange. By the way, if you know what team Otto the Orange is from, put a message in the notes here or leave a comment or something. Let's put that as our test here for Christmas time. The reason I say that is I want you to consider this. You're not alone. You're not alone in your journey and in your struggle. And this is Christmas time. It's a time to be thankful of family, but be thankful. I'm thankful because people are about to open gifts under their Christmas tree that got there because of the work you did all year that paid them a wage that allowed them to do that. You're a big deal. You're a big F deal. So thank you for that. But I want to give you some perspective. You see that landmark, what, you know, the tree, the ocean, the mountain, Otto the Orange, whatever. Somebody's wearing the Otto the Orange shirt. Some of you are laughing. Some of you are Googling it right now. But the other day, as you know, we have the Foreman course coming up. So Rick Patak and I were on the webinar with Australia. Now, you might not know this because you're in Boise, Idaho. And you think the whole world is Boise, Idaho. I used to think the whole world was up here in the Pacific Northwest. It ain't. You might be in Chicago. You might be in Duluth. You might be in San Francisco. You could be in Austin, Texas. Thinking, all of this is happening to me and nobody else understands what I'm going through. Well, I'm about to call BS on that. Here, Rick Patak and I are on doing the information call for the upcoming foreman training. And we're on with two gentlemen from Australia. And we go ahead and we have the call and we like to stick to the agenda. It's only a 1 hour information session where we run through the agenda of what the foreman training is going to do. So we didn't spend a lot of time letting everybody else on the call chit chat. But towards the end of the call, we ended a bit early. So we let everybody on the call chit chat, as you do, right? Now, they're both in different parts of Australia, both great guys. And they both said, hey, we have the same problem. We have problems delegating. We have problems hiring. We have problems getting our thoughts out of our head and onto paper. So it's a system. And so we're all, on the call, nodding in agreement and trying to understand the other person's point of view. And then one of the guys says to his other Australian businessman, they're both in different parts of Australia, he says, hey, tell me a little bit about your company. And the guy says, well, I'm the owner of the company, but I'm not a cabinet maker. And I've got about 25 employees. And the guy that asked the question said, oh, we're very different. It's just me and 3 guys. But I hope you picked up what I was putting down there. Until they talked about the size of their company, they had the same issues. And these are guys in Australia, not Boise, not Jersey, not Ottawa, not Austin, not Houston, not Reno, not Boston, not Key West, not Papillion, Nebraska. These guys express the same challenges that we all express here in North America, and they're way over in Australia. Not only that, but the two gentlemen said they have the same business challenges and they're completely different sizes in different cities. And so the reason I say that is because, yes, this is hard. It's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to break out of the cocoon. I'm supposed to break out of the cocoon. Imagine if your friend came to you over Christmas and said, Dom, I found the greatest gym in the world. I'm going to get fit and I'm going to get in shape, but I don't have to sweat at all. Matter of fact, I don't have to work at all. No push-ups, no sit-ups, no special diet. I'm just going to lose weight. And you think, wow, this is what a crackpot looks like. And it's my friend who I now invited to my house, and they're going to be with me for at least 6 hours. Now, some of you also know that's your brother-in-law who's going to be across the table from you for 6 hours, but we'll leave that as a joke between all of us, for each of us. Crackpot. You're going to go to the gym, but you're not going to sweat. You're not going to do one push-up, one sit-up. You're not going to get on the treadmill. You're not going to get on the bike. You're not going to lift any weights, but you're going to have this miraculous body transformation with no effort. BS buzzer goes off now. My friends, we have to go through the struggle to get to the success. I only talk about wins here, and I apologize for that. I should talk about my failures. I should talk about the horrible memos. Now you know how old I am. The notes that I've written to my staff that have made like a third of them quit in a day because I said something wrong and I offended somebody. I should talk about people who pulled me aside and said, Dom, you can't say that to people because I said something the wrong way. I should tell you about the times that I advanced wages to somebody who then took off with my van and I had to track him down across the country to get my van and my money back. I have to talk about the times I don't even know I got scammed by employees or by suppliers. How many times I was sloppy with my paperwork and let my vendors, my suppliers, overcharge me for things because I didn't do my end of job report. I didn't keep my numbers, my metrics. I didn't have a bookkeeper I could trust. I thought I couldn't afford to hire another person to do a job I'm really not good at. Bookkeeping's not my thing. No, I talk about the successes. I talk about the fact that I lucked out in the wife department. I have the greatest wife in the world. Sorry, everybody, mine is the best. And by the way, now I have 2 great kids. I lucked out. I always talk about my successes and never my failures. So today, here's the ending exercise I want to leave you with, okay? This is supposed to be hard, and I'm glad you're here listening to the show, maybe giving me feedback, reaching out to me, call me. I'm not kidding. You guys have heard me say this before. If it's time for you this year to make a change in your business, reach out to me. I don't know how we're going to work together, but I will not leave you hanging. I will not. I can't. It's not who I am. And I hope you guys know I'm being as honest and genuine as I can. Here's the exercise I'd like you guys to do. So if you've got a pen and paper handy, please be prepared to write this down. If you're driving, find somewhere to pull over. This is an important exercise. It's kind of a critical one. And it's easy. It's not hard. You don't need a lot of prep work. You don't have to go find other reports. You need a pen and a piece of paper. If you have a pencil, this exercise will still work. There are only 2 questions I'm going to ask you. I'm buying a little bit of time so you can find a place to pull over. If you're walking your dog, maybe, I don't know, scratch it on the doggy bag or something. Here are the 2 questions. After I ask each question, I want you to write down your 3 answers, but I want you to write them quickly. Don't think, just write. Okay, so here we go. First question is this. In 2022, I achieved all of my goals because I ... So write down the first 3 things that come to your mind for you in your business. Let me give you that question again. In 2022, I achieved all of my goals because I ... 1, 2, 3. Boom, boom, boom. Write those down. Don't think, just write. Write from your heart, write from your gut. In 2022, I achieved all of my goals because I ... I'm going to assume you've done that now. You're pulled over, you've got a pen, paper in hand. I don't care if you're writing on the back of a gum wrapper. Here's the second question. The second question is a deep look inside yourself. It's a deep look I've had to make inside myself many times. It's the best goal setting we could do. This is going to save you a ton of time because you won't have to go through the long process of goal setting. Here's the second question. In the year 2022, I failed to achieve all of my goals because I failed to ... And then write down your answers. 3 answers. Don't think, just write. Let your inner mind, your subconscious, your unconscious mind come through. In 2022, I failed to achieve all of my goals because I failed to ... Go ahead and write that down. In 2022, I failed to achieve all of my goals because I failed to ... What I want you to do next is I want you to scribble out your answers to the second question. This show And I, Dominic, I live in the space between those two questions. I'm here to help, so keep listening to the show. If you really are serious about changing your business, find a way for us to work together. Reach out, buy the book. I'm doing this because I want to. If you think this is your year to work with me as your coach, that's great. If you think this is your year to go to the gym and get a trainer, or just more consistently go to the gym, or stop smoking, or stop drinking, or have a better relationship with your wife or one of your kids, then that's what you got to do this year, but commit to doing it. See what I mean? It's not about Dom. It's about you. This is supposed to be hard. So if it's hard, congratulations, you're doing it right. The success will come. You will break out of the cocoon. You might even be the salmon swimming up the river, my friend, depending on how you play your cards. It's supposed to be hard. That's why not many people do it. That's why when somebody does knock it out of the park, like a Dave Thomas or a Richard Branson or a Babe Ruth or a John Lennon, a Steve Jobs, it's remarkable. That's why my most successful clients are guys nobody else ever heard of. One guy who started with one truck and is now doing a couple $1,000,000, employing tens of people, and he's still got the same dog as when he started the company. Unsung heroes. It's probably you. But when you think about your own failures, when you think about your own successes, remember that the work you're doing is important. In the next couple of days, people will be opening gifts under their Christmas tree because of the work you put in this year. You paid their wages went so they could buy gifts for their family, so they could put a turkey on the table, so they could spend time hugging and kissing their family and hanging out. You're kind of a big deal. Thank you for being my friend, and thank you for listening to the show. You have a great day. Next is Story Time with Dom. I know you're going to enjoy it.